students. I am Emin, your social science faculty of STAIR School of Excellence. Today, the topic which we would be discussing is the Constitution and the Preamble, which is chapter number 1 of your Civics. So, talking about the Constitution, what is Constitution, my dear? Whenever a country would, such a huge country is there, and a government is actually running that country, so there must be some rules and regulations which is to be made so that the citizens, so that the people can function according to that. Even the government has to function according to some rules and regulations. Clear? So, those rules and regulations, whenever those rules and regulations would be compiled, that book, that written document is termed as a constitution. So, in this chapter, we would be discussing about what is constitution, what is preamble, why it was a need of making the constitution, what all are its constituents. So, basically, in short, we would be discussing upon all the things which are related to the Constitution of India. Clear, my dear? So, let's start with the video. All of you are already aware of that we got independence on 15th of August 1947, right? Before that, we were under colonial rule of Britishers. Clear? So, after getting independence from Britishers, as we became an independent nation. After becoming an independent nation, we would be requiring some rules and regulations. Now the question arises: who would be making those rules and regulations? We the people, because it is a democratic country, right? So when people would be making rules and regulations, is it possible for such a huge population to sit together and make some rules, make the constitution? No. So, actually, Constituent Assembly was created. Constituent Assembly was those people, approximately 300 people, a group was made, and they actually made the objectives according to which the Constitution has to be made. Clear till here? Later on, the drafting committee took over the charge and finalized the whole Constitution, and the chairman of the drafting committee was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. You must have already heard of this name prior. Clear? So, talking about the introduction of our constitution, first of all, our constitution is a written document. What is our constitution? Our constitution is a written document. Clear? What all are the things which are inculcated in the constitution? It has fundamental rights. What are fundamental rights? Fundamental rights, my dear, are those basic rights which are given to each and every citizen. We are having 6 fundamental rights along with us, right? First one is right to equality. Second is right to freedom. Third is right to freedom of religion. Fourth is right against exploitation. Fifth is cultural and educational right. And sixth, the most important right is right to constitutional remedy. Clear? We would be discussing upon all these 6 rights in the later on classes. But till now, just remember we have 6 rights along with us, right? Which is available, which is given to each and every citizen of the country who is staying or residing in India. Clear? Secondly, it has directive principles. Directive principles are those things according to which the government has to function. For an example, if suppose if I am managing the whole nation, right? So who would be monitoring my work, whether I am doing the work correctly or not, right? Because it is a democratic country. There might be a probability that in future I might convert that into monarchy, I might convert that into autonomy, right? Autocratic government, right? So who would be monitoring those things, that whether the government is functioning according to the rules and regulations or not? So those are mentioned into the directive principles. Clear? I have already told you that some fundamental rights, some rights are given to each and every citizen of the country, right? So along with the rights, there come certain duties. Duties which all the citizens have to follow. Likewise, I'll give you one example. Have you heard of our national anthem, Jan Gan Man? Whenever we used to hear that Jan Gan Man, we used to stand in a attentive position, right? Why we are doing so? because it is our fundamental duty to pay respect to all those things which actually belong to our nation. For an example, which actually symbolizes our nation. Clear till here? Moving further, all these powers, all these things are actually showing the functions, the powers, the formation of our constitution, according to which the governmental institution would be working. Clear? Next, as I've already told you, it is the law for which is actually applicable to each and every citizen, right? So it is the supreme law. What it is, the constitution is actually the supreme law for the country. This is the law according to which all the people have to function. No other law is there above it. Clear? Understood? Next, the Constitution of India was adopted by Constituent Assembly on 26 November 1949. Like, it was completed on 26 November 1949, but it actually came into effect on 26th of January 1950. Now the question arises, why this date, 26th of January, is selected as the Republic Day? Tell me the answer. Actually, 26th November 1950 is taken as Republic Day. There is a big reason behind it. Actually, on 26th January, on 26th January 1930, Purna Swaraj was declared by National Assembly. Right? So, actually, it is considered as Swaraj Day, Purna Swaraj Day. Clear? So, as this date was quite important according to our freedom struggle, therefore, 26th of January is selected as a Republic Day for executing our constitution. Clear? So, 26th of January 1950 is taken as Republic Day because our constitution came into effect on this particular date. I hope the things are clear till here, my dear. Let's move further. Beta, this was the Constituent Assembly. As I have already told you, for making a constitution, we need some people who would be actually giving us a guideline according to which the constitution has to be made. For an example, if in your class I gave you certain tasks that you have to you have to write a story. So to write a story, you need certain guidelines, you need certain points according to which you would be writing that story. Clear? So in the same way, while writing a constitution, Constituent Assembly people were those who actually gave us a guideline, who actually gave us the objective according to which the constitution is made. Clear? Three important personalities who were responsible for making our constitution was, first one, Sachidananda Sinha, second is Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and third is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He was the first president of Constituent Assembly, but soon after, I think on the third day, Dr. Rajendra Prasad became the president of the Constituent Assembly, and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, that is Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, you must have already read that he was the person who was actually the chairman of the drafting committee. Now the question arises, we have discussed about Constituent Assembly, we have discussed about Constitution, but what was the working of the drafting committee? Drafting committee, my dear, was those people who actually finalized the constitution. They were the people who actually finalized each and every content according to the objectives which was made by the Constituent Assembly. Clear? So kindly don't get confused. Constituent Assembly gave us the objectives. Clear? Whereas drafting committee actually finalized up the things. The president of the Constituent Assembly was Dr. Rajendra Prasad, whereas the chairman of the drafting committee was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So, while drafting the constitution, there were certain things which was actually adopted from different constitutions of different countries. What all are the things? Let us discuss upon that. First of all, from Constitution of United States of America, we took the structure of the government. That is how the government would be functioning. All of you must be aware of that our government is actually divided into three parts: legislature, executive, and judiciary. Right? All the powers are actually separated between three things: legislature, executive, and judiciary. Legislature, the work of legislature is to make laws, whereas the work of executive is to execute up the laws, and the work of judiciary is to make decisions. Clear? We would be discussing upon this in this particular class itself. Second, from Constitution of USA, we taken into account the parliamentary form of government. Parliamentary form of government means our government actually functions according the maximum powers in our government lies with the parliament, functioning power. Clear? And the parliament is also divided into two parts: Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, which is known as the lower house as well as the upper house. Next, from Irish Constitution, we took directive principles of state policies. That is how the government would be functioning. What are the rules and regulations according to which the government will function? From Australian Constitution, we took freedom of trade and commerce. That is what all restrictions, removal of almost maximum of the rules and regulations, and how trade and commerce would flourish uh, from our country to other countries. Next, from French Constitution, we took liberty and equality. Liberty and equality means like the ideals of freedom, the ideals of equality among the citizens are actually taken by the French Constitution. Can you recall that thing? Because in the earlier class we have already discussed there were three categories in France: first estate, second estate, and third estate. Right? So there were actually differences between all the three states, especially the third estate. They were facing the more what do we call it? They were facing the more. They were actually separated from first and two estates, right? So the ideals of liberty and equality are taken from the French Constitution. From Canadian Constitution, they took that the powers should be divided into central and state government. We can also call it the federal form of government, right? So federal form of government, federalism, the concept of federalism was taken from the Canadian Constitution. From Russian Constitution, we took fundamental duties. Fundamental rights, I have already told you. Fundamental duties are all those responsibilities which lies with each and every citizen of the country, right? If we are staying in India, we have to save the cultural heritage. We have to save the monuments which were made quite long years back, right? It is actually a responsibility. It is actually a duty to save those things. Understood? So it was taken from Russian Constitution. From Germany, we took the provision of emergency. For an example, like recently, we were facing a war-like situation, right? So it was actually an emergency-like situation. So how the government has to function in case of emergency, that concept we took from Germany. Clear? Second last, from South America, we took how the constitution has to be amended. The word amendment means what all are the changes that has to be adopted in the constitution. For an example, if I made a constitution long years back, like our constitution was completed in 1950, but we won't be making any sort of changes in that, what will happen? There would be some problems, there would be some contingency we would be facing, right? So to remove those things, some amendments, some changes are required. So those changes are actually adopted from the Constitution of South Africa. Clear till here? Lastly, from Japan, we actually took the due procedure of the laws. That is how the laws has to be applicable, how the laws has to be applied on the citizens. Clear till here, my dear? Let's move further. Supremacy of the Constitution. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land that I have already told you. It is the law which is above all. All the laws are actually below our Constitution. Second, all the organs shall function according to the procedures mentioned in the Constitution and shall obey the limitations mentioned by the Constitution. I hope there won't be any problem in this two lines, right? That is, Constitution is the supreme law, and all the government, all the organizations, all the people, all the what do we call it? All the entities has to function according to the Constitution, according to the procedures which is given in the Constitution. Clear? The preamble of the Constitution aims at the establishment of these particular things. Now the question arises, what is preamble? Beta, preamble is actually an introductory statement of the Constitution. What is introductory statement? For an example, whenever you are opening up a book, you would be the first or second page you would be referring to as index, right? Just by going through the index, you would have an idea what all content are available in the book, right? So in the same way, preamble actually gives us a guideline. It actually gives us an introduction that what all content are available in a Constitution. Clear? So in the preamble, we have certain words which are mentioned. For an example, it is a sovereign nation, that is, it is an independent nation. No other nation would be functioning, our nation won't be functioning according to the other nation. There is no other supreme power which is actually controlling us. Second, it is a socialist country, that is, all the powers are divided between, we have to function according to the society. It is a secular country, that means no particular religion would be followed by the government. That is, all the religion are equal for the government, and the government would be following only a particular religion. Next, it is a democratic country, that is, people would be choosing, people are the rulers of the country. It is a republic country, that means republic, representatives of the people. That means somebody from the people would become a representative, and after getting elected, he would become the leader of the mass. He would become the leader of the country. Clear, my dear? Let's move further. What is Constitution? Constitution is a supreme law of the country. As it puts forth the framework of fundamental politics principles, it establishes the structure, procedures, powers, and duties of the government, mentions the fundamental rights, principles, and duties. The same thing which we have already discussed in the first slide, the same thing is actually mentioned again over here. The Constitution declares India as the sovereign, socialist, democratic, and republic with the parliamentary form of government. The Constitution of India actually gives us an idea that it is a socialist, democratic, republic country, clear, and along with it is a parliamentary form of government. The Indian Constitution shows a federal as well as unitary system. Now, federal, I have already told you, federal system is in which the powers are divided into tiers, in which the powers are divided into steps. For an example, in our country, the power is divided between center and the state. Right? So that means it is a federal form of government. Clear? But it is also said that India is a federal as well as a unitary form of government. Clear? Why we would be referring it to as federal as well as unitary? Because the power is divided between center and state. Correct? Therefore, it is a federal form of government. But in the same sense, in the same scenario, the maximum power lies with the central government. Right? Maximum powers lies in the hands of central government. Therefore, it is sometimes considered as a unitary form of government too. Clear? Therefore, if a question arises, can India be considered as a federal as well as unitary form of government? So the answer would be yes. India is considered as a federal as well as unitary form of government because as the power is divided between the central and the state as well as the local levels, therefore it would be considered as a federal form of government. But in the Same scenario in, sometimes the power is actually concentrated in the hands of the central government. So in that case, it would be considered as a unitary form of government. Clear? Chali. Let's move further. Because this is the preamble, this is the first cover page of our constitution, and as you would be opening that constitution, this is the this is the first page of our constitution. I have already told you the first page of the constitution is the preamble, right? And preamble is the introductory statement of the constitution. It starts by "We the people of India." It is in the form of oath, right? So "We the people of India," some important terms which we have already discussed are mentioned. It is sovereign, democratic, republic, justice, liberty, right? So these are the basic guidelines according to which the Constitution of India is made. Talking about the structure of Constitution, the structure of Constitution is like this. Clear? The Constitution, firstly, it is the world's largest Constitution. Secondly, it has 395 articles, which is divided into 22 parts and 8 schedules. The Constitution of India is divided, firstly, it is divided into two parts. First part 25 and second is preamble, which we have already discussed. These 25 parts are also subdivided into 448 articles, 5 appendices and 12 schedules. We would be discussing upon that in the later on classes. Preamble. Preamble is the brief introductory statement of a constitution. In the previous slide, we have discussed there were 25 parts. Na? So, what all things are included in those 25 parts? It is these. Like, for an example, what all responsibilities, what all rules and regulations according to which the union and the territories has to work, it is mentioned in part 1 from those 25 parts. Clear? So, in the same way, these all are the parts according to which the constitution is bifurcated. For an example, if I have to get a reference of finance or trade related matters, so should I be reading all these 25 points? No, I would just refer to part number 12. Part number 12 is related to finance, property contract, and I would be referring to 12 and 13. First one is related to finance and second one is related to trade. Clear? So, by reading these particular parts, I would simply get an idea that what rules and regulations we have to follow while we are doing trade. Clear? Constitution of India. Constitution of India actually lays the guidelines that the power has to be divided into three parts. That is one of the feature of our Indian Constitution. The separation of power is done between three parts. The first one is legislature, second is executive, and third is judiciary. Legislature is actually the law-making body. What is legislature? What is legislature? Legislature is actually the law-making body. What is executive? Executives are law implementing body. And lastly, judiciary is Chalo, let's do it once again. So, legislature is the lawmakers or the law-making body. In India, the legislature of our country is the parliament. It is actually divided into two parts, which I have already told you: the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, lower house and the upper house. Executives are those people who are responsible for implementing the laws. Like whatever laws are made by the legislature, some persons, some organizations, some people should be there who would be actually implementing, executing those laws. So executives are those people who are responsible for their implementation. It is also divided into two parts: political executives and permanent executives. Clear? All the government officials, all the ministers, prime minister, president, all those comes under executives. Clear? Lastly, we have judiciary. Judiciary, the work of judiciary is to make decisions. For an example, if there might be a situation where some conflicts arises between the government, that is the state government and the central government, or between two state governments, or among the people, or there might be some problems and disputes which the government and the people are facing. So, who would be actually solving those disputes? Who would be taking decisions on those matters? It would be judicial. In normal terms, in general terms, we used to refer it as courts. Clear? So, judiciary is the institution which works independently, firstly, and second, it actually makes decisions on any of the conflicts which arises between the people or the governments. Clear? The head of the judiciary is Chief Justice. Almost all the things which we have already discussed regarding to the constitution. Firstly, it is a popular sovereignty. So it is a socialist country. So it is a secular country. Fundamental rights are given. Directive principles are given. Judicial independence. In the previous slide, we have already discussed. It is a federal form of government, and cabinet governments are there. That is in the parliament also. The parliamentary session is also divided into councils and cabinets. Clear? Cabinets are actually those ministers, those important ministries which are uh, uh, sorry. For an example, if I have to take certain decisions regarding some important matters, so when I would be calling upon the meeting, I won't call upon all the ministers altogether because it would be wasting the time. I would call some important ministries which are actually required for that meeting. Okay? So those people would be considered as cabinet ministers. Understood? For an example, our defense ministry. In the recent scenario, it was the meetings was quite frequent. Clear? So that was the part of cabinet government. Clear till here, my dear? Let's move further. These are the main characteristics of Indian Constitution. First one we have already discussed. It is the longest written constitution. It is rigid as well as flexible. It is quite hard to understand, but it is quite flexible also. Like amendments can be made in our constitution according to the needs and requirements of the situation. Next, it has the preamble of the constitution, which is actually the guideline or introductory statement for the constitution. It had fundamental rights and duties we have already discussed. Directive principles according to which the government of the state has to function. It is a parliamentary system. It is divided in between Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Judicial review. One of the important topics. What is judicial review? For an example, if there is any law which is passed by the parliament, but the people are not agreeing to that law, right? The people are actually protesting against that law. So there must be some institution who would be monitoring what all are the laws made by the parliament that are to be correct or not, right? So the work of judiciary is of judicial review. That is, if there is any law which is actually going against the constitution, so judiciary has the power to declare that law as null or void. Null or void means it would be of no use in the future if it is declared as null or void. Clear? So this is actually judicial review. The power lies with the judiciary. Clear? Coming to the conclusory part, conclusion of this whole particular thing was constitution is a set of rules and regulations, right? Which according to which the group of people or a country is governed. It is a set of rules and regulations for the people as well as the government. It is not specifically for the people, it is for the government also, that how the government has to function. It provides the rules acceptable to all the citizens of a country irrespective of the caste, creed and religion. Whatever the religion the people are following, whatever the caste uh, 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 to whatever caste they belong, it doesn't matter. The skin color, nothing matters. If the person is actually the citizen of a country, he or she has to follow the rules and regulations which are given in the constitution. Next, constitution is very important for a civilized society to function and to ensure its citizens equality of opportunity, justice and fraternity. Constitution is very important to manage up the country, to maintain justice, to maintain freedom, to maintain equality for the people. If there wouldn't be any constitution, it would be very difficult to manage a country, especially India, which is having such a huge population. So, I hope, my dear, you might have understood the concept, and if you are having any doubts, we can discuss upon in the next class whenever we will be having an offline lecture. It was very nice teaching you all. Have a nice day. Bye bye.